Hakai.
Approximately 75 million years ago, a meeting took place between the gods and angels of the 18 universes. Daishinkan is given the last word of the meeting, saying that it was a very productive meeting and thanking everyone for coming. But one of the gods present at the meeting takes the opportunity to announce that this will be the last meeting he will participate in, because in a few years, he will leave the position of destroyer and pass the position to his apprentice Beerus. This deity that just spoke of this is called Taron, and he is the destroyer of Universe 7, and he is accompanied by the angel Whis, a supreme Kai named Gazan, and his apprentice Beerus, who is very young. Hearing this announcement, another god present at the meeting says that it was a joke and that Brat couldn't become a god. Who said this was a god named Garuga. He was the destroyer of Universe 6, accompanied by the angel Vados and supreme Kai named Nuan. Hearing Garuga's words, Beerus gets very angry and is about to attack the destroyer of Universe 6. But Taron stops his apprentice and states that Beerus is very capable and will be an excellent god of destruction. But Garuga thinks that it's a great foolishness. This boy will surely be a failed god. Beerus gets even angrier at Garuga's words, but Daishinkan interrupts that discussion. They ask the gods to be more elegant and spare the great Zeno that silly discussion. He was clearly uncomfortable with that argument. Zeno has an idea. How about erasing them and their universes? Everyone is worried about that idea. But Daishinkan advises the great Zeno not to do that. He thinks these universes deserve a second chance, especially Universe 7, as the god of destruction Taron and the god of creation Gazan do an excellent job and are exemplary gods. Zeno accepts the advice, but he thinks they could just end that meeting. It's too boring. After this request from Zeno, the meeting was ended, and then everyone returned to their respective universes. Planet of Destruction of Universe 6. Garuga arrives at his planet very angry, and in an act of rage destroys the nearest decorative planet. The Supreme Kai named Nuan asks what bothers the god of destruction so much. He replies that this is all Taron's fault. He always maintains a calm and superior demeanor. Garuga wanted Taron's apprentice to advance against him so that the boy would be destroyed by Zeno, but that damn Taron intervened. Vados gives her opinion on this. She thinks it's time for Garuga to put aside this rivalry with Taron. It's been 25 million years, but Garuga rejects that advice. He'll never forgive that bastard. After that, the destroyer asks the angel to go to the planet Gaspa to get some dragon meat for him. Vados says she will do what he is asking and should be back in few minutes. Vados leaves the planet and does what Garuga asks. As soon as the angel leaves, Garuga addresses Supreme Kai, remembering the fact that she doesn't like Universe 7's Supreme Kai either. Nuan confirms that statement. Gazan always gets all the praise, and no matter how hard she tries, she always seems to be one step ahead. He sure does some kind of cheating. Garuga smiles upon hearing that. And then he makes a suggestion. How about they get revenge on them? They could make Universe 7 into chaos, and then they would be no longer considered the perfect gods, and would be shamed in front of everyone, considered great incompetence. Nuan received that proposal with surprise and hesitation. If anyone found out they were doing anything to sabotage other universes and told Zeno, they would be erased at the same time. But Garuga has already thought about it and has a plan. They could let the very inhabitants of Universe 7 destroy themselves. All they need to do is use some bad people in the universe and let them wreak havoc. Nuan likes the plan, but if they go in there to do anything, Gazan with Supreme Kai's heightened senses would likely sense that presence. If that happened, they would be scolded or worse. But Garuga has thought of that too. There is a place in the universe where not even Supreme Kai can see. She knows what it is, right? Nuan is surprised. That place? Oh yes, that place, answers Garuga with an evil smile on his face. A few days later on Universe 7's planet of destruction, an intense battle takes place on the planet, and the impact of the blows causes an intense wind across the planet. Who is fighting is Beerus and Taron. The god of destruction's apprentice tries to land a sequence of blows on his master. Taron blocks the attacks with extreme ease, but in a moment, Taron's counterattacks landed a strong attack on Beerus's abdomen, who immediately stops attacking due to the pain of the blow received. After doing so, Taron advises his student, explaining that the boy is very angry, and if he fights like that, he will waste too much energy on his attacks, in addition to leaving gaps for counterattacks. But Beerus, after recovering from the pain and very angry with his master's lessons, yells that he doesn't want to be lectured, and then creates a globe of destruction energy which surpasses Taron, who is surprised that he is able to use Hakai at that level. Beerus launches the Hakai at the god of destruction, who holds the attack and launches it in another direction. But Beerus takes advantage of Taron's distraction and lands a strong attack on his master, who retaliates with a slap in the face of Beerus, who goes to the ground. With this attack, Beerus gives up the fight stunned. As he lands, Taron asks him, "What happened to Beerus?" probably referring to the disciples' dark mood. Whis, theorizing what is happening, asks if this has anything to do with what happened at the meeting of the gods. Beerus confirmed he didn't like that bastard underestimating him like that, and he knows it's not just Garuga who thinks that way. All gods have similar opinions. Taron, hearing this, is very disappointed, and he says he didn't think his apprentice was so weak. But Beerus refutes his master, saying that he is the most powerful mortal in the universe. Taron agrees, but his strength is physical. Mentally, he is weak. Taron asks what would happen if an opponent said those same things to Beerus in battle. What would he do? Would he get angry and attack without thinking? If so, he would be an easy target. If Beerus really wanted to be a god of destruction, he needed to strengthen his intellect as well, not just his body. But Beerus continues to argue against his master. He never used Hakai as well as he did now. Anger made him stronger and helped him progress. But Taron reminds Beerus that the Hakai he uses is just a copied version of the true energy of destruction. When he becomes a god and has the true energy of destruction within him, if he lets himself be controlled by such feelings, he will be possessed by that power. Beerus, very stubborn, continues to confront his master, saying that he thought that to use Hakai, he only needed to think about destruction. That's exactly what he was doing about that idiot. Taron is disappointed. Hasn't Beerus learned anything in these last years of training? Destruction involves much more than just feeling hate. It's necessary to understand the cycle of things and the need for destruction to build something new and better. This is the true essence of the work of the god of destruction. Above all, the destroyer needs balance. But Beerus doesn't want to listen to these lessons. He wants to go home and asks if Whis could take him. Taron asks Whis to do this. Beerus won't get results if he trains like this. As he takes Beerus home, Whis asks if he's still angry. Beerus asks how he wouldn't look. He hates being underestimated. But Whis tells him not to take it personally. The reason to Garuga criticizing him so much has nothing to do with him. In fact, it's all because of Taron. They are rivals for many generations. Whis explains that Taron and Garuga were born in Universe 7. They lived on neighboring planets, and as their planets were scarce in resources, their races were in constant war. They were the most powerful of their respective races, and so they became natural rivals. In a battle, their races self-destructed, and only they were left. The god of destruction of that time, impressed by their power, decided to make both of them his disciples and make them understand each other, but that never worked out. When that god died, they started a battle to decide who would be the next god of Universe 7, and Garuga lost that battle. At that time, Universe 6 also lost the god of destruction, so Garuga was sent there. All this happened 25 million years ago, but to this day they maintain this rivalry. Everything very interesting to note in this scene is that the ancient god of destruction cited by Whis as being master of Taron seemed to be Pikon, who in the main story of Dragon Ball Hakai was said to be the first god of destruction of Universe 7, and today is the chief of the Celestial Guardians. This ancient god from Universe 6 who came before Garuga looks a lot like Tapion, and a statue of him also appeared in Dragon Ball Hakai Chapter 3 when Goku was in the ritual to become the god of destruction. With that, we can conclude that Pikon was the first god of destruction of Universe 7. Later he was succeeded by Taron and later by Beerus. And this guy like Tapion was the first destroyer of Universe 6, who was succeeded by Garuga, who was succeeded by Champa, and now in Dragon Ball Hakai, Champa has been succeeded by Goku. Anyway, continuing with the chapter. After hearing the whole story between Taron and Garuga, Beerus concludes that Garuga is just a jealous god, but no matter, he will overcome both of them, and he will become stronger than Taron and Garuga. Whis is overjoyed to see the young apprentice's excitement. Planet Neosi is a very peaceful planet. The race that lives on this planet, the Necosasians, have a high level of power if compared to the average race of the universes. But despite this, they are very peaceful and spend most of their time in long sleep. As he flies around his planet, Beerus notes that even in the biggest city of the planet, he hardly sees people. Looks like his people are lazy as usual, but he envies them, and after all, Master Taron doesn't let him sleep much. But seeing something being destroyed in a forest, Beerus concludes that someone is very awake today. Upon seeing the crater opened in the ground by that person, Beerus scolds, saying that he will destroy the planet that way. The person training is Champa, who says that unlike his privileged brother, he doesn't have a god and an angel to teach him how to control his powers. Beerus asks if Champa is still upset that Beerus was taken and he is not. He should accept that, but Champa does not accept. He defeated that monster too, but only Beerus was chosen. But Beerus justified that by saying that it is obvious that it would happen. When Whis and Taron arrived, Champa was too busy enjoying the feast the planet's people had made to celebrate. It was he who preferred to eat rather than leave them there. Seeing these dialogues, it seemed that Champa and Beerus attracted Taron's attention by defeating a powerful monster that existed or appeared on the planet. But as Champa was too busy celebrating and eating, only Beerus left to train. But well, Champa doesn't want to argue anymore. He wants Beerus to teach him everything he's learned in that time he's been away. And with that, we can conclude that Beerus trains with Champa whenever he can. And that makes Champa evolving too. Sometime later, they finish training and Champa comments that Beerus was very angry today and asks what happened. Beerus explains what happened and Champa says that if he wants the gods to respect him, he has to prove he deserves that respect. And he has to prove how powerful he is. But Beerus says it's easier said than done. How would he do it? But suddenly, something horrible happens. A portal opens in the planet's sky, and a gigantic wave of energy destroys the great city in an instant, leaving Beerus and Champa completely shocked. While Beerus and Champa talked in the forest, a great wave of energy destroyed the largest city on the planet. Beerus, very angry, asked who did this, and then he flies towards the city. Champa immediately follows his brother. When they get closer, they seem to feel something. Champa asks if Beerus is feeling that. He says yes, a strange and completely evil energy. A big monster is coming out of the smoke. Beerus tells his brother not to let his guard down. The creature sees them and roars, but Beerus is not afraid of the angry face, so he flies towards the monster to avenge his people. Beerus and the monster clash fists. The impact wave of their blow causes a great wind in that region. The monster tries to land several blows on Beerus, who dodges all of them quickly. They move with great speed and making very strong attacks against each other. Champa is impressed watching the fight. Beerus, when he's really fighting seriously, doesn't even compare to when he's training with them. In a moment of intense exchange of blows, Beerus sees a gap and lands an attack on the monster, launching him away, opening a crater in the ground. It was clearly a really powerful attack. Beerus asks what his opponent thinks of the attack. That's for what he did to his people. Champa approaches asking if the creature has died. Beerus answers yes, but to contradict the young cat, the creature gets up. Surprised, Beerus asks if this is some kind of prank, but it is not. The monster charges at Beerus at high speed and grabs him, carrying Beerus into a forest and causing massive destruction to the ground as they fall. Seeing the destruction caused on impact, we know it was a really very powerful attack. Beerus is clearly affected by this attack, and he's pinned to the ground by the monster. The young cat was in a bad situation, but rescue arrives. A few explosive attacks hit the monster in the back. Then Champa arrives, hitting a kick that pushes the creature. And then Beerus' twin brother completes the attack by launching a sequence of ki blasts at the monster. After this triumphant entry into combat, Champa asks Beerus what that thing is. It's so unlike anything he's ever seen. Beerus doesn't know either, but it seems he has something against him. The monster is already on its feet and it emanates an enormous amount of energy. Champa notes that the creature seems to be getting stronger. If they want to have any chance of victory, they need to fight together. Beerus hates the idea. He didn't want to have to fight Champa, but he doesn't have much time to complain. Champa warns that the monster is advancing at full speed against them. The creature tries to attack them. The brothers disperse, going each one to one side. Beerus catches the monster's attention, and when the creature heads towards him, he fires a many ki blasts at once, stopping the creature's advance. Champa also attacks, coming onto the monster and landing a hard punch on its back, launching it into the air. Then Beerus warns his brother that it's time. Champa says he already knows, he doesn't need to be given orders. Beerus and Champa fire powerful waves of energy, hitting the monster at the same time. Champa wonders if they made it, but the answer comes soon after, with the creature emerging unscathed from the attack. Champa is worried. He did his best in that attack. Beerus is also worried. Apparently, ordinary attacks won't work on that monster. There's only one attack he can use, but he doesn't control it very well, which means he could put the planet in danger. But he has no choice. He has to use it. Suddenly, the battle is interrupted and many energy attacks hit the monster. Those responsible for that attack were a group of Neosi, who were very angry about the creature attacking their city. But Beerus isn't too happy with the cavalry's arrival. They should leave immediately. That thing is no opponent for them. The monster prepares an attack, but the Neosi warriors do not cower. The group leader orders everyone to attack at the same time, and so they do. Beerus knows it's useless and tells them to run away, but it's too late. The creature launches the energy attack against the Neosi attacks. Their energy is completely overwhelmed by the monster's energy, and then they are completely destroyed by the creature. But Beerus doesn't have time to grieve over the death of his companions. Champa warns that the energy globe released by the monster is heading towards the planet. If that powerful attack hits the planet, it's all over. Beerus immediately tries to stop the energy. He struggles not to let the attack reach the planet's ground. Champa fires an attack at the monster. He guarantees he will distract the creature while Beerus takes care of it. But it will be good if Beerus does it really fast. Really fast. Beerus arrives on the planet's ground. He tries to fix his feet on the ground, but the energy globe charges him. He won't be able to hold that thing. The young cat, in thought, decides that there's only one way to stop this energy and save the planet. He wanted to use this against the monster, but there's no other option. Beerus yells, "Hakai," and then the monster's energy globe disappears. He drops to his knees, sighing in relief that he's made it, but the relief is short-lived as Champa soon falls from the sky, and Beerus screams for his brother. Champa, before passing out, warns that the creature has gotten even stronger, and so he passes out. In the sky, the monster creates another energy globe, and after accumulating a lot of energy in this next attack, it launches towards Beerus. As he watches the attack coming towards him, Beerus reveals that he has no more energy. He used up almost everything he had on Hakai, but even if he still had the energy to fight, that monster has already evolved too much. Now it greatly surpasses the power of the young warrior of Neosi. That was the end. But suddenly something happens. The monster's attack disappears. The person responsible for its praise is the young warrior, and upon opening his eyes, Beerus is surprised. The one who arrived says that Beerus honored his role as the disciple of the God of Destruction, but that was a job for the God of Destruction himself. And then we see Taron, who has just arrived alongside Whis and Supreme Kai Gazan. With the invasion of the mighty demon that grew more powerful by the moment, the fate of Beerus' planet seemed to be set. But the God of Destruction arrived. Taron, along with Whis and Gazan, observes the situation. Beerus asks what he's doing there, and the destroyer explains that the King Kai of the sector saw what was happening and warned Supreme Kai Gazan, and Gazan took them there. The monster suddenly starts releasing energy wildly, and the creature's roar made everything shake. Taron, seeing this, remarks that if the monster continues like that, the planet is at risk. The monster heads towards them, thirsty for blood and destruction. The God of Destruction looks to the God of Creation, and only with Taron's look, Gazan knows what to do. The Supreme Kai teleports behind the monster, and touching the creature, uses the Kai to get the beast out of there. Beerus asks where they went. Taron explains that Gazan will take the monster to an inhospitable planet where they can deal with the creature without worry. In the blink of an eye, Gazan returns. Taron tells Beerus that he should go with them. This is an opportunity for him to see him do some different work. They arrive on the inhospitable planet with the Kai, and immediately the monster rushes towards them. Taron goes into battle, kicking the beast and knocking it away. Meanwhile, Beerus asks Whis where the monster came from. He didn't know such a powerful being existed in the universe. Whis says that he didn't know of the existence of the monster until now, but from the energy he feels coming from this creature, it doesn't seem to be from this world, but from the Makai world. Beerus recognizes that name. Isn't this that world where there are only demons? Whis confirms the energy of this creature is very similar to the energy of the beings that live there. But still, Beerus is surprised. Are there such powerful beings in the Makai world? Now it is Gazan who responds to the young warrior, saying that the Makai world is a very mysterious place, and that not even he, with his Supreme Kai senses, can know exactly what happens there. But that's not the biggest problem. The truth is that their world shouldn't be accessed so easily by those who live in the Makai world. So how did this creature get here? This is very strange. As they talked, a fierce battle raged in the planet's sky. Taron and the demon monster landed intense blows against each other until their fists collided and a huge explosion could be seen. While fighting the monster, Taron notes that the more they fight, the stronger the monster gets. Perhaps the rage in the destroyer's blows feeds the creature somehow. This beast seems to be composed of pure negative energy. Not even attacks on vital points will be able to defeat him. He will keep getting up stronger and stronger. As the battle continued, Beerus watched with great concern. If that monster keeps increasing its power like that, it's going to get to the point where it's going to surpass Taron. But Whis is not so worried. It is true that the demon has an extraordinary power and that it increases every second, but he is still very far from Taron's power. The distance between their power is astronomical. But Beerus doesn't understand. If the difference is so big, why is this fight taking so long to finish? Whis says that Taron is only watching his opponent to draw his conclusions. Beerus doesn't understand. What does he mean by draw his own conclusions? But Whis notices something, and so he interrupts their conversation by saying that it seems Taron already knows everything he wants to know. This is about to end. After hearing this from Whis, Beerus pays attention to their fight. The monster fires a very powerful energy wave at Taron, so powerful that it completely engulfs Taron's body, and can be seen from outside the planet. But despite being hit by the titanic attack, Taron is not injured. He calmly holds the creature's hand and then he says, "You are a beast that feeds on hatred and the impetus of battle, and therefore you should be invincible for any warrior. But not even an abomination like you can resist the purest form of destruction, which carries no hatred or any kind of emotion. The destruction that comes to purge all evil from the world. As he hears these words from the destroyer and sees him pointing his hand at him, the creature screams madly, as if he knew what was coming and feared it. And then Taron shouts, "Disappear from existence! Hakai!" A powerful flash of light can be seen. Whis and Kazan watch it intently and calmly, unlike Beerus, who's very impressed to see his master's power. After the powerful demon disappears, Taron remains for a while in the place where the creature left, reflective. Meanwhile, the other three at the scene approach him. The first to speak with the god of destruction is Kazan, who asks if Taron noticed that. The destroyer noticed. With all that evil energy emanating, the monster could only have come from the Makai world. But how could such a monster have reached the mortal world? Beerus says that this creature arrived on his planet through a portal, and for some reason seemed to be after him, as it attacked him with great violence. But Taron disagrees. That monster could be after Beerus. After all, there's no way that thing knew him. What probably happened is that the monster sensed Beerus's energy, and because he was the strongest in that location, the monster saw him as a threat and attacked him. But in fact, it is a little strange that the creature appeared precisely on Beerus's planet. Was it all a coincidence? It's hard to know. Taron has an idea while looking at his disciple, and so he orders Beerus to prepare. He will know the darkest place in the universe, the demon's realm. After Taron says this, Kazan takes them out with the Kai, the realm of demons. Beerus and Taron, Whis, and Kazan go to a completely different world. Kazan apologizes for not taking them directly to their destination. Unfortunately, his Kaioshin senses don't work very well in that place. Beerus takes a good look at the place and sees the desolate terrain, a pile of corpses, and a demon eating the bones of another creature. A truly demonic place. While observing that place, Beerus is very tense. He senses something very bad in the air. Beerus hears something, and then he notices that in the sky there's a big hole, and then he asks what that is. Whis explains that it is a rift in time-space. It works as a dimensional barrier separating the two worlds. Beerus gets confused. Shouldn't it be easier for those creatures to go into their world then? Just go through that fissure. This should be more common. But Whis explains that it's not that easy. Although it doesn't look like it, that thing has surprising power. It is capable of destroying celestial bodies with a density thousands of times greater than that of a large planet. There are few in the universe who could cross that thing, and the only one he knows is Taron and himself. But of course, Kazan can also cross the barrier because of the Kai, as he doesn't have to physically cross it. Beerus now criticizes Kazan. Can he go there whenever he wants? So if his Supreme Kai senses don't reach that place, why doesn't he always go there and see what's going on? But Supreme Kai explains that it's not that simple. That place, as well as the gods that live there, are completely evil, and not even the gods outside can stay there long without having their hearts corrupted by all that evil. Of course, sometimes he goes there to see how things are going over there, but it's not something he can do very often. Taron interrupts the conversation. They must do whatever he has to do. He doesn't want to stay in that place for long. The visitors travel to the highest point of the demon realm, where they found a large and dark planet. Beerus, seeing that planet bathed in what appears to be blood, complains about the fact that it is such an ugly planet. Taron explains that it is the planet of the supreme god of this dimension, the supreme planet of darkness. In this place lives the Makaioshin, called demiurges. Beerus asks Kazan if Makaioshin are Kaioshins that are born rotten. Kazan answered that in short, yes. When Supreme Kais and King Kais are born corrupted, they are called Makaios and Makaioshin. When they are born, they are sent to this world, where they do similar work to that Supreme Kais and King Kais do in the mortal world. The Makaioshin is the supreme god of this world. Arriving on the planet, they see many bodies scattered across the land. Beerus, shocked, asks why there are so many bodies there. Taron explains that Demiurges has very voracious hobbies. Torture and murder are included in this. He's a demon god after all. But after saying this to Beerus, Taron screams for the supreme demon god. The destroyer orders the demon to appear. He has more to do. Suddenly, a drop of blood begins to float, and the blood from the various puddles scattered around that place begins to give shape to someone. When a mouth appears among the blood, that person says, "Taron the Destroyer, how long have you not been here?" 5 million years, maybe more, said Demiurges. But Taron doesn't want to talk too much. He goes straight to the point. An extremely powerful demon has invaded the mortal world, and he wants to know what the demon god knows about it. Demiurges, while still having his body formed by the blood splattered around the place, replies that in fact a very powerful demon has appeared. Unfortunately, too powerful for him to do anything about it. But Beerus argues that when he started fighting that demon, he was no more powerful than Kazan. This means that maybe Demiurges could have neutralized him before the monster got stronger. Just an observation here, guys. From Beerus's words, we can see that his and the Supreme Kai Gazan's power is not that different, and maybe Gazan is even a little more powerful than he is. I know that by Dragon Ball Super standards, this might seem absurd, as Supreme Kais are considered to be very weak, but remembering that Shin in the Majin Buu saga was as powerful as Goku when the protagonist faced Cell, that is, Shin had the same power as Goku using the maximum power of the common Super Saiyan, and with that power he could defeat Namex Frieza with a single attack, and Frieza for many years was considered the most powerful mortal in Universe 7, being the one who ruled the entire universe. And also remembering that Shin was not a Kaioshin considered so strong. We saw during the franchise Supreme Kai is stronger than him, like the Southern Supreme Kai, who managed to face Kid Buu almost equally. And there was also the Sacred Supreme Kai, which was stronger than the Southern Supreme Kai, and even managed to defeat Moro in the past. In short, an average Supreme Kai has the same power as Goku at the end of the Cell Saga, and Goku was already very powerful by the standard of other mortal beings in Universe 7. And a powerful Supreme Kai can greatly surpass that level, like the Sacred Supreme Kai and the Supreme Kai of the South. And I believe these Supreme Kais can be on a level close to Super Saiyan 2, maybe even surpassing it a little bit, since they could face Kid Buu. That is, with this, we can conclude that Beerus, who was the most powerful mortal in Universe 7 at the time, had a power similar to Goku's power at the end of Cell Saga, and maybe a little weaker than Supreme Kai Gazan, who may be a stronger than average Supreme Kai. Anyway, let's get back to the scene. After Beerus questions Demiurge's and to why he didn't do anything about that monster, the demon finally appears, showing his true appearance. Demiurge's lashes out, saying that a brat like Beerus shouldn't question him like that. But Taron scolds the demon, saying it's good Demiurge's respects Beerus, as he's going to be the next god of destruction in not too long. Demiurge's laughs. That brat? A god of destruction? This can only be a joke. Beerus gets very angry and yells at the demon to stop laughing at him. But Taron is tired of that situation. He screams, and the sound of the god of destruction's voice makes everything shake, and Beerus drops to his knees. While his disciple is on the ground, Taron orders Demiurge's to answer Beerus's question. Why didn't he do anything against that beast if he had enough power to do so? Demiurge's finally answers. As Taron probably observed, the creature fed on the wrath of battle. He realized this the first time he tried to deal with the creature, and then he understood that direct confrontation was not the best option and isolated the monster. But somehow he doesn't know. The monster managed to escape that world and went to their world. That was what happened. Taron continues the investigation. Demiurge's is supposed to be able to see everything that happens in this world. So why didn't he see what happened to this monster? The demon doesn't like that questioning. Is Taron implying that he sent the monster there? If he could do such a thing, he wouldn't be in this world anymore, right? The fact that he can see everything that happens doesn't mean he's omniscient. If he's not paying attention to something he can't see, simple as that. He got careless and the monster escaped, somehow, that he doesn't know. That's all. Taron remains suspicious, but for now he will accept this explanation. Either way, he'll keep an eye on the situation. After saying that, he calls everyone to leave. Gazan says that now that he's spent some time there, he thinks he's been able to lift everyone into their world right from that place. Taron gives Demiurge's one last suspicious look, and then everyone leaves. When everyone leaves, the demon god starts laughing. The seed has been planted, and now Taron's destruction has just begun. After visiting Makai World, Beerus is dropped off on his planet to share his grief with his people, as well as help in the search for survivors. Beerus and Champa are in a great devastated city, probably looking for survivors. Meanwhile, Beerus remembers that near where they are, there lived a lady who allowed him to hide in her shop and sleep when he didn't want to work. And Champa remembers that 3 streets down the road, there was a restaurant that he liked. The owner of the restaurant liked him a lot and even gave him free food sometimes. The fried mouse he made was really good. Beerus suffered in thought, claimed to be Demiurge's had something to do with everything that happened on the planet and wanted to make the demon pay for everything he did. But unfortunately, he is beyond his reach. Suddenly, and literally suddenly, a witch appears. Beerus suspiciously asks who she is and what she's doing there. She's not from the planet. The old woman replies that where there is an omen of destruction, she will be there to warn this planet. No, the whole universe smells of destruction. Beerus asks what she's talking about. Is she crazy? The witch goes on to say that when the god of demons comes, nothing will be left. He has already given his omen of destruction, but next time he will bring complete destruction. Beerus is starting to believe that prophecy and is interested when it talks about the king of demons. She was clearly talking about Demiurge's. She says that when he breaks free, everything they know will change. He needs to be stopped, but for that a hero needs to volunteer. But Beerus disagrees. She doesn't know what she's talking about. There's no way demiurges can get out of that world. But the witch quickly refutes the young warrior. That beast that attacked the planet theoretically couldn't leave either, right? Beerus has no answer for that. He's completely silent. The witch sees that Beerus is believing her, the only one who believes. She asks if he would be willing to volunteer to prevent this great evil by defeating the Demon King. Beerus emphasizes that it is not possible for him to return to that world alone, but the witch conveniently has a solution. She can take him there. Champa approaches his brother and whispers in Beerus' ear, saying that this is the perfect opportunity for them. Beerus wants to prove his worth to the gods, right? Well, he wants the same thing. They could go together to this Hakai world and defeat this demon. Together they could win, and then they would save their planet and the entire universe. The gods would have no choice but to look at them with more respect. Beerus reflects on the matter. He thinks this is a very serious situation. He should warn Taron about it. But if he does, his master will sort it all out in the blink of an eye, and then he'd get all the glory for himself. If that happened, he wouldn't have the chance to prove himself to the gods. Beerus makes his decision. The old woman must take them there immediately. The savior of the universe will be he, the great Beerus. The witch smiles, a very suspicious smile. Guys, before talking about the chapter, just a note. In Dragon Ball, there are people with magical powers capable of moving between worlds. A good example of this is Baba, Master Roshi's sister. She is an earthling witch capable of transitioning between the mortal world and the other world. She has access to heaven, hell, and everything in between. She even recruited beings from other worlds to fight for her, as she did with Son Gohan and Devil in Dragon Ball Classic. Babidi was also able to do this as he recruited Dabura, the king of demons, who was an inhabitant of the Hakai world. The witch who is talking to Beerus and Champa seemed to be one of those cases, but long before Baba and Babidi existed, of course, as this story takes place 75 million years before the start of Dragon Ball. Well, continuing with the story of the chapter. Using her spells, the old witch takes Beerus and Champa to Hakai world, but something is wrong. Once through the portal, Beerus sees that he is close to the fissure he had seen when he went there with Taron and the others. He immediately tells the witch that she took them to the wrong place. They should go to the planet of the god of this world. But with a mischievous smile on her face, the witch says that they are exactly where they should be. Then she jumps to the portal and disappears. That was clearly a trap. Champa, noting the obvious, says he thinks something is wrong. Suddenly, they're quickly surrounded by many demons, and then they realize that it was a trap. Some minutes later, several demons are already being defeated by Champa and Beerus, who are clearly a little tired from fighting. Champa asks Beerus how they are going to get out of that place. Beerus looks at the big fissure in the sky and explains to his brother that that thing is the only way out. But if they tried to cross it, they would probably be killed by the pressure exerted by the amount of energy in it. Champa, desperate by knowing that he is trapped in the place, asks Beerus what they're going to do now. Beerus says he went there to defeat demiurges, and that's exactly what he intends to do, even if he has to cross the whole hellish world to do so. But Beerus' shadow says that wouldn't be necessary. What? Did the shadow say that? Beerus' shadow strangely begins to take form. It frightens the young warrior, who jumps to escape. The shadow takes the form of Demiurgus, the demon god, who was clearly already waiting for them there. Beerus sees the demon god, confirming that he already suspected. It was all a trap. He was the one who sent that weird witch to go after him and bring him here, right? Demiurgus comments that Beerus isn't as dumb as he thought he was. He's right, that's exactly what happened. Beerus then concludes that it was the witch who sent that monster to his planet as well, no doubt under orders from Demiurgus, but he doesn't understand the reason behind all this. Demiurgus says he doesn't need to answer everything Beerus wants to know. If he wants information, he needs to take it from him by force. Beerus and Champa quickly agree to the idea, and then they charge towards the Demon King to unleash a joint attack. But Demiurgus disappears at high speed in front of them. He reappears between the two and lands a heavy kick on Champa, which knocks the fat cat away. After that, Demiurgus tries to land a punch on Beerus, but he dodges, and then start an exchange of blows. Beerus is apparently at a disadvantage in this fight. Demiurgus makes a spear appear in his hand and hurls it at Beerus. Beerus dodges, but opens a gap for the demon to approach, preparing a punch. But before Beerus is hit by the attack, Champa comes up behind him, yelling at him to dodge. Beerus does as his brother says, and Champa kicks Demiurgus right in the face. And Beerus completes the combo by landing a second kick that sends the Demon King straight to the ground. Then the brothers complete the attack by firing multiple ki blasts, causing multiple simultaneous explosions. After they finish the attack, Champa celebrates. They've done it. Beerus agrees there's no way Demiurgus could have resisted that attack, but they were wrong. Demiurgus survived, protected by an energy shield. Demiurgus congratulates the boys, saying that it was a good try. If it worked, he probably wouldn't have survived. But unfortunately, they're fighting only to delay the inevitable. They're probably thinking that just because they're fighting together, they're going to win, but that's not going to happen. Even if they are powerful, they won't be able to win because they are just two brats who don't have the malice of battle. Champa gets very angry and asks why he's saying that, but the answer comes soon after when he is surprised by a spear piercing his body. Beerus screams desperately for his brother, who falls from the sky to the ground defeated. Beerus realizes that attack came from Demiurgus, who surprisingly was in the sky behind them, and then he looks at the ground and sees that actually it was Demiurgus that was talking to them. It was just a mirage. Demiurgus explains that after he blocked the attack with his energy shield, he took advantage of being hidden by the smoke and fled before he was noticed, but left a clone in his place. It was a simple trick, but it was enough to fool them. That's why they can't beat him. But Beerus, while listening to the demon's speech, becomes completely irate, and then, while emanating a large amount of destruction energy, he orders that bastard to stop underestimating him. Beerus raises both hands and faces the enemy with an expression filled with fury. That apprentice of the god of destruction shouts, "Hakai!" forming a large globe of destruction energy. Beerus launches this attack at Demiurgus, who holds the attack while smiling. But the demon's smile quickly fades. He seems to have been surprised by the power of the attack. In a few seconds, the energy globe starts to engulf the demon, after which there is a big flash of light. Beerus gets very tired. In thought, he reveals that he got too angry and spent almost all his energy on that attack. But that's not a problem. He managed to win in the end, and now Demiurgus is dead. But then, Beerus sees something that completely shocks him, and he wonders what's going on. By the time the smoke clears, Beerus sees that Demiurgus is still alive, and not only that, he's different, more muscular, and with horns more raised. Did he transform? Demiurgus says that Beerus almost made it. He barely managed to absorb that attack. Beerus asks what's going on. Demiurgus should have been completely destroyed by his attack, but the demon mocks the young warrior. The energy he used to perform that technique was totally impure, built only by negative and selfish feelings. There was no balance at all. What does he think would happen if Supreme Demon God came into contact with such an energy? Only now Beerus realizes what happened. His Hakai strengthened Demiurgus. So was that his plan? Demiurgus explains that it is. He sent the demon to the Beerus planet in order to provoke him. He knew Taron would come to his planet after that and bring his apprentice. The moment he saw Beerus in person, Demiurgus was able to influence his mind through all those negative feelings that the young warrior carries. Now Beerus is getting it. So Demiurgus messed with his mind? The demon confirms and even reveals that Beerus's mind, filled with rage and self-centeredness, was the perfect setting for him. After he planted the seed of distrust in Beerus's mind when he was in his world, all he needed to do was send that old woman to get him. Didn't Beerus suspect that fact that the woman had appeared so suddenly? Wasn't it just too convenient for someone to come along who could bring him into the world just when he wanted to? Didn't he think that since she has access to both worlds, she couldn't have been responsible for that monster arriving on his planet? No, he didn't think of any of that because he was blinded by anger and selfish feelings. Beerus criticized the demon's plan. So what if he got stronger? What is he going to do? Will he kill him and Champa? Alright, do it. But then Taron finds out. He'll eliminate him in an instant. But the Demon King says that Taron won't kill him if he can kill him first. Beerus asks how he intends to do that. He may have grown stronger now, but he sure as hell doesn't measure up to Taron. Demiurgus responds by reminding Beerus that, as he probably knows, there's another way to kill a god of destruction without fighting him directly. Beerus understands what he means. He intends to kill Gazan. This makes sense. Killing a Supreme Kai, automatically the god of destruction dies. But how does Demiurgus intend to make it out of that world? As he accumulates energy in his hand, Demiurgus explains that those who created this world did so in a way that is virtually impossible for those who live inside to escape. This fissure, for example, exudes such incredible power that no demon would be able to cross it under normal circumstances. But now that he's fed on all the energy Beerus provided, that's changed. Demiurgus fires a wave of energy at the fissure, and then the hole opens up. The demons from this world, seeing that, immediately fly towards the hole to escape that world. Beerus despairs. It can't be. Demiurgus, while laughing and mocking Beerus, congratulates the young warrior. He is now a great hero, the hero of the demon realm. The hero responsible for them achieving the long-awaited freedom. As he flies out of that world, Demiurgus promises that as a reward, he will ensure that the first people to be exterminated will be Beerus's people. Beerus, head down, lands on the ground and falls to his knees, defeated, wondering what he's done. This is where Chapter 4 ends. Chapter 5, The Fall of the Gods. On the supreme planet of Universe 7, Supreme Kai Gazan is in the middle of a class with his disciple. Apparently, the lesson of the day is the importance of the cycle of life and death, and creation and destruction for the balance of the universe. Gazan explains, "For the universe to be in balance, the cycle of life and death must exist. As too much death leads to nothingness, but too much life leads to chaos. The cycle of life and death applies to virtually everything in the universe. This process involves from living beings to large celestial bodies, such as planets and stars, which even if they last billions of years, eventually die someday. In other words, life and death are necessary for the balance of everything." The Supreme Kai's apprentice adds with a question. Ro says, "That's what the gods of creation and destruction are for, right?" Gazan confirms and explains that for the universe to prosper, the working of these two classes of deities must be in complete harmony. In order for these gods to work in harmony and none try to outshine the other, their lives are connected, so one cannot live without the other. The apprentice asks if Gazan works well with the god of destruction, and the Supreme Kai says that yes, he and Taron have a good relationship of mutual respect, which is why Universe 7 is the most prosperous among the universes. But Gazan adds that unfortunately, this kind of relationship is not common among the other gods, which is why many of the universes are not as prosperous as they are. The apprentice with a proud smile says that this must cause a lot of envy among the other gods. Gazan confirms so, but that is the price of success. But the class is interrupted when he suddenly feels something strange, and in thought he says he feels a large amount of evil energy spreading through the universe. It's as if the demon realm has entered here. At that moment, someone arrives on the planet, and Gazan asks what he, Demiurgus, was doing there, and how he managed to get out of his world. The demon god replies that he has finally gained enough power to escape the hellish prison, and he explains that the energy of this world is so clean that he could feel the energy of Gazan and come to him. Gazan is very surprised. Demiurgus broke the barrier? This is impossible. Not even he, the god of creation, could do that, and he's the most powerful being in the universe below Taron. But Demiurgus refutes. He was the most powerful, but now his powers have been surpassed. Gazan, taking a good look at Demiurgus, notices that he is not lying. The demon's form changed, as did his aura, and his power greatly increased. He can't handle the situation alone. He needs to alert Taron immediately, but Demiurgus already imagined what Gazan might think, and he had a good way of not allowing the Supreme Kai to get away. He reminds Gazan that someone with their level of power could destroy a planet in an instant. But Gazan doesn't understand. Is he going to destroy the Supreme Planet? He argues that if he and Ro leave, there will be no one left on the planet, which means no lives will be lost. Of course, the destruction of this sacred planet would be very sad, but it could rebuild later. But Demiurgus isn't talking about the Supreme Planet. He's talking about planet Kaishin, the home planet of all Shinjins, the race of all Supreme Kais, kings, and also of all demon gods like him. The demon says, with the aim of threatening Gazan, that he was thinking of paying a visit to their home planet and saying hi to his countrymen. Hearing this, Gazan is completely shocked, being caught off guard by the threat. When Demiurgus says this, it is shown what is happening on planet Kaishin right now. In a field on the planet, under a large tree, is a group of Shinjins. 4 young Shinjins are apparently having a class, which is being taught by an apparently older Shinji, and in the background we can see something that looks like a school. Just giving a little extra information here, guys. According to official sources on planet Kaishin, the Shinjins are trained and taught in many ways, and those among the race that stand out are chosen to be gods that help in the organization and control of the universe. They can become the King Kais, who are responsible for guarding the galaxies, or in case of special Shinjins, they are born from a golden fruit. They can become Supreme Kai, the god of creation, responsible for maintaining balance in the entire universe, along with the god of destruction. There are also other positions that outstanding Shinjin can hold, such as being assistants to the Supreme Kais, like Kibido, who is assistant to Shin, the current Supreme Kai of Universe 7. But as a rule, all Shinjins are born from a sacred tree that exists on the planet, called the Kaiju Tree. Going back to the chapter, maybe this big tree we're looking at is the Kaiju Tree, and this big building is probably the academy where Shinjins are taught and trained, where these new god candidates are chosen. Returning to the Supreme Planet, Gazan is completely shocked. Would Demiurgus do this to his own planet and race? Would he destroy everything and everyone that way? But Demiurgus reminds Gazan who he is. He is the Supreme Demon God. Words like scruples have no meaning for him. He wouldn't mind destroying their entire race, nor the tree that gave them life, but with a bad acting out of sadness, Demiurgus admits that it would be a tragedy if planet Kaishin were destroyed. Imagine all those beings who are preparing to maybe become gods dying. And worse, with the destruction of the kaiju tree, no one else would be born, and future generations of gods would no longer exist. What a tragedy. Gazan, after the provocations and threats of demiurges, makes his decision and orders Ro to use the Kai to search for Taron and bring him to the planet. He can hold demiurges for a short time, so he must go at once. But Ro is unsure about this. He still doesn't know how to use this technique very well, but Demiurgus says he won't let that happen, and so he fires an energy attack towards Ro. The Supreme Kai's apprentice freezes. He can't react. All he can do is stand still, waiting for death to come. But Gazan saves his disciple by slamming the energy ball away, then orders Ro once more to go. Ro, go! He uses Kai, but he's not exactly on the planet of Taron. Desperate, the young Shinjin wonders where he has gone. Meanwhile, Gazan and Demiurgus have already started the fight. They exchange blows across the sky. Gazan is hit by a demon's blow, defends one blow, but then gets hit by another. Even suffering from the attack, the Supreme Kai takes the chance to hold Demiurge's hand and then summons a sword to hurt the demon, which immediately reacts by spitting a fireball that surprises the god of creation. Gazan is hit by the attack and blown away as it burns in the sky. Gazan uses his energy to disperse the flames. Demiurgus approaches flying and summons a trident in one hand, after which he tries to lunge at the Supreme Kai, who blocks the Supreme Demon's God's trident with his sword. Demiurgus recognizes that sword as the Z-sword, a relic that Supreme Kais have guarded for generations. The demon says that Gazan is very skillful in using the sword. He is indeed a skillful god, but he also has his own toys. The two measure strength for a moment. Demiurgus, despite trying hard, manages to keep a smile on his face, while Gazan, on the other hand, is clearly trying a lot harder. The strength contest ends with Demiurgus launching Gazan with his superior strength. The god of creation plummets from the sky and crashes to the ground. The fall hurt the Supreme Kai, who was coughing, choking from the dust and impact he suffered. With no time to rest, Gazan sees the trident being thrown towards him, but he immediately reacts and uses its magical power to create a protective dome around him, causing Demiurge's trident to become trapped in that dome. The demon recognizes this dome as Kachin metal, which is an extremely strong metal. Gazan appears with a teleport behind Demiurge's and tries to cut him with the Z-sword, but the demon dodges the attack, also teleporting and going behind the Supreme Kai to hit him with an attack with his claws, but different from Demiurge's. Gazan can't dodge without being partially hit. Demiurgus criticizes Gazan, saying he is a fool. Maybe he could get away from it, and that would save his life, but he cares about the planet and those useless people. Gazan, apparently quite sure of what he's doing, replies that he's been alive for a long time. He couldn't let all those young people and future generations be sacrificed because of his cowardice. He is the god of this universe, and it is his responsibility to protect the universe and the gods that will come after it. But to the demon god, this is all nonsense. To him, it only matters who will live and who will die. In which case Gazan will die. While all this is happening on Supreme Planet, on Planet of Destruction, Taron is bathing in the lake while Whis just watches. But suddenly the Destroyer notices something that worries him and asks if Whis noticed it too, if he's feeling it. The angel confirms, and while looking at his staff reveals that the barrier between the Makai world and the mortal world has been broken, and now the demons are breaking free and attacking the universe. Taron is very surprised. How did this happen? At that moment, someone arrives at the place with a teleporter. It is Ro, who arrived using the Kai. When he sees that he is where he should be, the Kaioshin apprentice can hardly believe that he has finally made it. Probably he has tried many times and has been to many places. Ro immediately warns that Gazan is being attacked by demiurges. They need to help. Taron realizes what the demon wants and asks Ro to take them there immediately. Meanwhile, on the Supreme Planet, the Z-sword travels through the air until it lands on the ground, while Gazan is also thrown violently against the ground. Slumped over and with an expression of weariness and pain, the Supreme Kai wonders where Ru is. He tries to get up, he can't fight anymore. Demiurgus lands next to the fallen god. He admits that Gazan surprised him. Even though the demon's power was far superior, the god of creation managed to resist for a long time, and if he let his guard down during the fight, he would surely have been killed. Gazan is an incredible fighter. Demiurgus summons a sword using one hand and then takes the weapon. As he prepares the final attack, the demon says that despite everything, it seems that he has reached the limit and will no longer be able to to defend himself, so it's time to die. But to everyone's surprise, someone suddenly appears and holds the sword with his bare hand. At that moment, Demiurgus is completely terrified. This can't be happening. It's Taron, who, while bringing his face close to Demiurgus' face, look at him in the eyes, warns the demon that his party is over. As this happens, Whis and Ru watch from afar. Taron breaks the blade of Demiurgus' sword with his own hand and then points his hand at Demiurgus, saying that it's a pity for him. He almost got what he wanted, but now it's time for him to disappear forever. But something happens to Taron. He seems to feel something strange and is completely surprised and confused, claiming not to understand what is happening. The destroyer places his hand on his chest as if sensing something. Looking back, he finally understands what happened. Gazan was hit by Demiurgus' trident. The Supreme Kai looks at his wound, apparently very surprised by what was happened. The young apprentice, seeing what has happened, cries out desperately for his master. Kneeling down, Gazan reflects on what happened. During the fight, Demiurgus set the trident aside precisely to use it for a surprise attack. Gazan was so concerned about surviving every attack of the demon that he completely forgot about the weapon. With an expression of sadness and defeat, he apologizes to Taron. The destroyer drops to his knees shortly afterwards, as Demiurgus reminds everyone that he is a demon god. Cunning is one of his main attributes. Obviously, he would take precautions in case something went wrong. Taron curses his enemy, but claims he won't go unpunished. Beerus would stop him. Demiurgus mocks Taron. He probably doesn't know that Beerus was one of the main responsible for his release and all the demons, and he was largely responsible for his great increase in power. Only now does Taron discover what really happened. It seems Beerus' impetuous personality led him wrong, but even discovering this, Taron is not angry with his disciple. He says that it doesn't matter. There is a reason why Beerus is his disciple, and he will prove it to Demiurgus. Before disappearing completely as a last word, Taron asks Whis to take care of Beerus. The angel says that he will do as he asks. Taron and Gazan disappear completely. Whis closes his eyes in grief, while Ro cries desperately, and the supreme demon god laughs. Meanwhile, in Makai world, Beerus is surrounded by demons, and Champa is next to him, passed out. Clearly, he's been fighting as much for himself as he is for his brother, and apparently it's been a long fight. Beerus is exhausted. He complains that these things never end, and Champa doesn't wake up either. The young warrior sees another group of demons flying towards him, and with an expression of defeat, he closes his eyes and in thought accepts that all is lost. But suddenly a force field is created around him, and the bloodthirsty demons that came to attack him shatter in protection. Who created the shield is Whis, who arrived there along with Ro, probably with the help of the Kai Kai. While seriously looking at Beerus, Whis warns that they have a lot to talk about. After assassinating the god of creation Gazan and the god of destruction Taron, the supreme demon god Demiurgus began a campaign of destruction and terror across the universe. Just as Demiurgus had promised Beerus before, one of his first targets was the young warrior's home planet Nekosi, and the people of Beerus, the Nekosasians, were slaughtered by the demon god's demonic hordes. The planet's warriors even tried to resist, but resistance is futile in the face of so many enemies. Demiurgus observes everything from above until the presence of other people catches his attention. One of those people who just arrived says, with a smile of satisfaction, that their plan worked. Who says this is Garuga, the god of destruction of Universe 6, who is accompanied by the Supreme Kai of his universe, and also the weird witch who set the trap for Beerus and Champa. Demiurgus agrees with Garuga's words about the plan having worked. Thanks to that witch, the powerful demon of his world attacked the people of Beerus, and that caught Taron's attention and brought him and his disciple to his world. And by manipulating Beerus' tainted heart, the demon god brought the boy back to him full of fury. That way he increased his powers and was able to kill Gazan, and consequently also kill Taron. It was the perfect plan. Garuga reminds Demiurgus that all this only worked thanks to them. It was he, Garuga, who came up with the idea of using Universe 7's demons as part of the plan, and it was Nua who found this witch to help carry out the plan. For them, the death of Taron and Gazan is a great reward, but Garuga still wants to have one advantage or another from Universe 7 in the future. Demiurgus agrees, assuring that when they need an ally in this universe, they certainly will. The old witch interrupts the conversation by saying that she is happy that everyone is satisfied, but now she wants her part of the bargain. She wants to become a goddess, but to the woman's surprise, her demand causes much laughter from the others. Garuga is the one who gives her the bad news. They don't intend to honor their agreement. Does she think a decrepit mummy like her can achieve godhood? What a joke. Furious, the witch insists, reminding him that they have an agreement, and they promised her that. This talk annoys the Universe 6's destroyer, who tells the woman that she has to feel grateful just for being able to help the gods with something. She has to put herself in her place. In a threatening tone, the witch says that no one breaks an agreement with her and goes unpunished. After that, she escapes through a portal. Nua is a little concerned, suggesting that they should go after her. But Garuga says it's not necessary. An inferior being like her can't do anything against a god of destruction. The only thing that matters now is that they accomplish their goals. Now Universe 7 will become a true chaos, and everything that Taron stood for will be tarnished forever. Some days had already passed since the death of Taron and Gazan and the attack and extermination of the people of Neosi. Beerus, Champa, and Ro have been on the planet of destruction ever since, extremely depressed. Beerus, Champa, and Ro are depressed, reflecting on their defeat when Whis arrives from a meeting with the Grand Zeno and the Grand Priest. He explains that since the day of Taron and Gazan's death, Demiurges has been causing widespread chaos throughout the universe. And according to the angel for Daishinkan and Zeno, this situation is untenable. They have given 1 month for the situation to be resolved, or else Universe 7 will be erased. But Beerus doesn't seem to have any hope of resolving the situation. He says that cretinous god was right. He is not fit to be a god of destruction. He's weak. He couldn't defeat Demiurges, and everything that happened was his fault. Ro shares the same lack of motivation as Beerus, saying that he is not prepared to be the god of creation either. He's still very weak and inexperienced, and because of this, Gazan could not be saved. Besides, he still doesn't know how to be a god, and he can never be as good as Gazan was. But to everyone's surprise, Champa gets up completely furious, asking what kind of aspirant rabble gods they are. First, speaking with Ro, Champa asks how it is possible that he was the apprentice of the Supreme Whatever, and did not learn anything from him. Is he an idiot? Besides, with that idiot face he has, no one expects him to be brilliant. He just needs to be average, and that would be pretty good. Faced with such an inspiring motivational speech, Ro reflects for a moment, then sheepishly agrees to give it a try. After convincing one would-be god, Champa turns to the other. He asks Beerus how he, who always thinks he's better than everyone else, can allow that bastard to destroy their people and go unpunished. He was bragging all the time about being the apprentice of the god of destruction, but now that trouble appears. Will he chicken out? Doesn't even look like him. He must be a man and clean up his own mess. Beerus is furious with his brother. Who does this stupid loser think he's talking to? He won't listen. All the shit from an idiot like him. Addressing Whis, Beerus demands that they begin training immediately. Whis is amazed that he didn't have to do anything to convince the younger ones. He agrees. Training must begin immediately, but warns that unfortunately, it's very likely that Beerus's power alone will not be enough to defeat Demiurges. This leaves the young warrior a little disappointed. What is Whis talking about? The angel reminds them that they only have a month until Zeno interferes with the Universe 7 situation and explains that even if his training methods are very effective, it is unlikely that he will be able to make Beerus stronger than Demiurges in such a short time. This set off a red flag in Beerus. What are they going to do then? But Whis, already thinking about the solution, asks Champa if he would accept becoming a god of destruction candidate. With a smile in his mouth and tears in his eyes, the chubby brother seems to receive that invitation with great joy and emotion, but he decides to respond with a colder and more indifferent attitude. If there is no other way, he accepts. Whis is overjoyed at the answer, saying they should start training right away. He will take them to another dimension, where they will be able to train with complete freedom. But aren't they forgetting something? And what about Ro? What should he do? Pointing his staff at the Kaioshin apprentice, Whis makes the Z sword appear before him, which Ro clumsily grabs. After giving Ro the sword, Whis says that Beerus and Champa might need his help, so he should train his skills as well. The young apprentice looks at the sword with great pride. It is this sword his master wielded, and his master as well. He will make himself worthy to use it. While Ro trains his skills individually with the Z sword, Whis takes Beerus and Champa to a dimension inside his staff, and there begins an intense training with the two. In this way, the new gods begin to be trained, and in a race against time, they need to become stronger to face this great threat. Roughly a month passed, and in that time, Beerus, Champa, and Ro honed their skills, while the demon god Demiurges, who had made planet Neosi his headquarters, watched over all the destruction his demonic hordes wrought across the universe. Sitting on his diabolical throne while watching some macabre spectacle that takes place somewhere in the universe, Demiurges claims to like it. When some people try to resist his demonic hordes, for him, it is always very pleasant to watch a bloodbath. But the demon god switches his attention to another type of entertainment, noticing that he has visitors. These visitors are Beerus, Champa, and Ro, who arrive on the planet via some kind of teleportation, presumably Ro's Kaikai. Once they arrive, the planet's demonic hordes immediately sense the presence of the invaders and rush towards them to attack. Making the Z-Sword appear in his hand, Rome makes his fighting stance as he tells Beerus and Champa to proceed, stating that he will take care of these enemies himself. Beerus agrees, saying they'll leave it up to him. And after that, he and Champa head towards the dark castle of the demon god. Off the planet in space is Whis, who watches everything that is happening, curious to see what the new gods will be capable of, sitting on his throne. Demiurgus welcomes visitors who arrive in his room by destroying the door using 2 demon guards. While Beerus has his emotions a little more in check, Champa is a lot angrier, asking how dare that bastard exterminate their people and use their planet as his lair. For Demiurgus, the answer is simple. He is a god of this universe now, so everything belongs to him. But Beerus disagrees with the demon, saying that the god of this universe will be him. The brothers walk towards Demiurgus' throne, and as they do so, Beerus points a hand towards the enemy. In the next moment, an explosion occurs, throwing something out of the castle. The one thrown away is Demiurgus, who is protected by an energy shield as he notices Beerus' increase in power. The first to leave the castle is Champa, who flies towards Demiurgus, accumulating energy in one of his hands. Such energy that he uses in a punch that is strong enough to crack the demon's energy shield, who's very surprised by this feat. But it's not over yet, and behind Champa comes Beerus. So accumulating power in a punch that, when hit, destroys the energy shield, hits Demiurgus right in the ribs, making the Makaioshin spit his evil blood. And finally, the combo is finished by Champa, who hits a flying kick on the demon, pushing him away. Demiurgus, Beerus, and Champa fire an energy attack at the same time, but at the moment of collision, the Makaioshin's attack has a disadvantage and is destroyed by the other 2, forcing Demiurgus to dodge the attack. Taking advantage of the distraction, Champa goes to his back to try a blow. Such a blow that Demiurgus escapes, to later reappear behind Champa with a spear in his hand. He hurls the spear towards Champa, who notices the attack too late. But luckily for him, Beerus intervenes, holding the weapon before it hits his brother. While breaking the enemy's spear, Beerus says his tricks won't work on them anymore. During their training, Whis uses all kinds of tricks, and his magical powers are far more vast than Demiurgus. No matter what trick the Makaioshin uses, they will be ready to fight back. Champa agrees with his brother, and adds that they have greatly increased their powers and Demiurgus will not be able to overcome their fighting together. While thinking about Beerus and Champa's words, Demiurgus remarks that they are not bluffing, although it does seem like it. These two have matured a lot in the way they fight. He concluded that tricks won't work, and at this point his power is not enough to overcome them fighting together. Beerus decides to have a little chat with his opponent. He asks if Demiurgus doesn't know that a universe cannot exist in this chaos. If things continue like this, Zeno will not allow this universe to continue to exist. But for Demiurgus, it doesn't matter. As long as he lives, he will spread chaos and evil. That's the reason for his existence. If he dies while doing this, it doesn't matter. Beerus begins to understand his enemy. He will do evil indiscriminately, even if it leads to his inevitable death. Right? Demiurgus confirms, and then states that doing evil is as vital to him as breathing, is vital to a mortal. That's why he will never stop until evil completely dominates this universe or until he dies. After hearing all this, Beerus smiles, apparently finally coming to an understanding, but Demiurgus doesn't understand the reason for his smile and asks why. Beerus responds, explaining that only now did he understand that Taron was trying to explain to him. Demiurgus perfectly fulfills his nature as a demon god, doing what his nature tells him to do regardless of anything. Demiurgus plays his role in existence by placing his nature above personal matters. All this talk annoys the demon, who asks what is the relevance of Beerus saying all this now. Beerus responds saying that he is saying all this because Demiurgus made him understand the true essence of a god. As he begins to emanate energy of destruction, Beerus suggests that his brother stay away. Champa does as he's told, while Beerus creates an energy orb of destruction. Demiurgus sees this with great satisfaction, asking if Beerus wants to confront him using this technique. The demon smiles and calls Beerus an idiot, saying he never learns. Ignoring the enemy's words, Beerus throws his energy. As he sees the attack coming, Demiurgus plans to lower the attack power a bit and then absorb it like he did last time. That way he will increase his powers much more and he will be able to beat the two. Demiurgus fires a wave of energy at Beerus' Hakai to lower the attack's power a bit, and then waits anxiously for the energy globe to receive the attack head-on. When he is hit by the globe, Demiurgus is absorbed by it and then begins the process of absorbing the attack, thanking Beerus for giving him more power, but something is wrong. He can't absorb the energy. Beerus explains why. In the last time his Hakai was filled with negative feelings, that's because his own personality was too flawed, and he didn't quite understand the true purpose of destruction. From now on, he will no longer destroy things based on his own feelings, but because it's his job. Hate, love, empathy, none of these will intervene in his destruction. A god must be above his own feelings. Demiurgus is shocked. So Beerus doesn't hate him anymore, but he killed his master and destroyed his people. Doesn't he remember? Beerus says that his master and his people were destroyed because that is the natural order of things, an inescapable fate that applies to all things. Demiurgus was just an agent that brought about this, just as he, Beerus, is the agent that is bringing about his destruction. But that answer made the demon god even angrier. How dare this kid put himself above everything like that? Who does he think he is? He replies that he is Beerus the Destroyer, and he's had enough of this. Beerus extends both his arms, pointing at Demiurgus and the energy globe that surrounds him. The globe is aimed at the planet's ground, carrying the demon there, contemplating his inevitable end. Demiurgus screams in despair. Hakai! Beerus shouts, and then a huge explosion occurs. After the destruction of Demiurgus and planet Neosi, only Beerus and Champa remain. Going to his brother Champa berates him for destroying their planet. Beerus justifies this by saying that the people of Neosi no longer exist. There is no reason for this planet to continue to exist in the universe. Champa does not agree. What does he mean? The people no longer exist. They are Neosijans. But Beerus says no. Now they are Champa and Beerus, the gods of destruction. As he approaches listening to the conversation, Whis smiles, saying that Beerus has finally understood what it means to be a deity. Taron was right to choose him as a disciple. Beerus is worthy of the position of god of destruction of this universe. Ro arrives to them, revealing to have also survived the planet's destruction. Tired, he says those demons came in thousands. But when Beerus blew up the planet, most of them died, and those who didn't fled because of Demiurgus' death. Whis says that without Demiurgus to guide them in the world, most demons must have felt confused without leadership, and will return to the Makai world. And the few that remain, they can calmly deal with later. With a smile on his face, Beerus declares victory. They won. After a few days, in the palace of the Grand Zeno, there were all the gods and angels of the 18 universes, with the exception of the gods of Universe 7, Taron and Gazan, who had been killed. Daishinkan, managing the meeting as usual, breaks the news that apparently everyone already knew. Taron and Gazan were dead, victims of the Makaioshin of their universe called Demiurgus. With the news, Garuga and Nua smile while exchanging glances, which catches the attention of Vados, who either already knows something or is realizing something now. Continuing with the speech, Daishinkan says that the situation was resolved thanks to the competence of Taron and Gazan's assistance, and also a mortal. The threat in Universe 7 has been resolved, meaning the universe won't need to be erased by the Grand Zeno. Such news causes great relief to the two brothers. Who doesn't like this news very much is Garuga, who wonders how Demiurgus was defeated by these two kids. But that's okay. In the future, he'll think of another way to bring chaos to that universe. But then Garuga notices something while looking at Champa, and then he questions Daishinkan, saying that he understands the reason for Taron and Gazan's disciple to be there, and they will likely become the next gods of Universe 7. But why this other mortal is also present? At that moment, Daishinkan explains that this meeting has two purposes. The first is to announce Beerus and Ro as the next gods of destruction and creation of Universe 7, and the second is to announce the disconnection of the gods of Universe 6 and announce Champa as the next god of destruction. This information leaves Garuga and Nua in complete shock and despair. Daishinkan justifies this decision, saying that it was discovered that they contributed to the chaotic situation of Universe 7. Completely scared, Nua tries to protest, questioning if there is any proof of this. Whis answers, saying he brought a witness. Already in possession of a staff, Whis touches it to the ground, making his witness appear, the old witch. In desperation, Garuga asks what that woman is doing there. She responds, saying that she warned that no one breaks an agreement with her and goes unpunished. With a crystal ball in her hand, the witch reveals the moment of the meeting between them to discuss the success of the plan. Daishinkan reveals that, in the face of this irrefutable proof, the Grand Zeno has decided to judge them guilty of disturbing the peace between the universes and breaking the laws of the gods. And because of the witch's brave testimony, she was spared. Anxious for the part that interests him, Zeno asks if he can erase them now. Daishinkan says yes. Garuga tries to speak, begging for mercy, but Zeno won't even listen and raises his arms, completely erasing the two Universe 6 gods from existence. There is not even a trace of them left. After that meeting the next day, another meeting was held where the ritual to transform Beerus into the new Hakaishin of Universe 7 took place. And in that meeting, his life was linked to Ro, who officially became the new Kaioshin. The next day, another ritual was performed, this time to proclaim Champa the new Hakaishin of Universe 6. In this way, the two twin brothers went to different universes, and since then they have a great rivalry about which universe is the best. Not long after, the old witch, who had her life spared by the Grand Zeno for having testified against Garuga and Nua, managed to gain access to the supreme world of Universe 7, and still aiming to reach divinity, stole one of Rose Potara earrings and placed it in her ear, believing that wearing an accessory from a god would make her a goddess. Unfortunately, things didn't go as she wanted, and this ended up resulting in their fusion. Ro ended up becoming a very ugly old Kaioshin with a very eccentric personality. Beerus ended up getting very tired of the old Kaioshin's pranks, which made him a lot of embarrassment in the meeting of the gods, and so the Destroyer sealed the Kaioshin in the Z-Sword, since he couldn't kill him. After doing so, he stuck the sword into a rock on the Supreme Planet. Over time, Beerus became more and more powerful, and because he didn't find anyone in his universe who could match him, he became extremely bored and hibernated in long sleep. Thanks to Beerus' long rests, the future Kaioshins needed to take care of the universe alone, and over the years, this ended up causing many problems to arise in Universe 7, and made it fall a lot in the average among all universes, being penultimate in that average in current times. But despite everything, Universe 7 has always survived, at least until now.